Alara moved with the silent, efficient grace of a ghost. She was a cleaner in the monolithic Zenith Tower, a building of polished glass and cold steel where fortunes were made and deadlines crushed souls. Her shift began at 10 p.m., long after the last ambitious analyst had left and only the most desperate, or burdened, executives remained. For Alara, the quiet was a necessary shield. It was the only time she didn't have to speak, to explain, or to feign optimism. Her current task was the 10th floor executive suite, where the air still hummed faintly with the stress of the day. As she methodically scrubbed the high-gloss marble of a countertop, she focused intensely on the friction of the cloth and the sharp scent of the industrial cleaner, pushing back the constant, icy anxiety that had become her closest companion. Alara wasn't just cleaning surfaces, she was scrubbing away at the hours, trying to reach a morning where she could grab a few precious hours of sleep before starting her second and third jobs. Her whole life was currently defined by a single, crushing figure: the mountain of medical debt left behind after her mother's illness and the ongoing, immediate need to care for her brilliant, yet fragile, younger sister, Mia. The pressure was a physical weight, settling in her shoulders and making her hands shake slightly, not from exhaustion, but from the fear of failing. On that particular Tuesday night, the only light on the 10th floor emanated from the corner office belonging to Leo Vance, a senior architect whose name was stamped on blueprints for the city's next major skyscraper. Leo was a single father who had recently navigated a tumultuous divorce, leaving him with an immense responsibility that felt bigger than any building he'd ever designed. He was brilliant at creating structures, but lately, he felt his own structure, his life, was dangerously close to collapse. He was pulling 16-hour days, fueled by stale coffee and the relentless guilt of knowing he was missing another evening with his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Lily was quiet, creative, and observant, and lately, her silence felt heavier than her tears. Tonight, Leo was stuck on a fatal flaw in the Nexus Tower design, a flaw that could cost him the contract and destabilize his fragile new family life. He ran a hand over his face, the stubble rough, the headache throbbing behind his eyes. He heard a soft sound, the shish-shish of a mop, and looked up. He saw Alara in the periphery. He had seen her many times, a blur of motion in a gray uniform, but tonight, something pulled his gaze. As Alara leaned over to change the water in her bucket, a fleeting moment of pure, raw despair crossed her face. It was gone in an instant, masked by the immediate return to her task. But as she wrung out the soaking rag, Leo saw it: the water and cleaning solution, combined with the slight sheen of sweat from the hidden effort, trailed down her wrist and gathered on her knuckles. In the harsh fluorescent light, it looked exactly like a mix of grime and tears, smeared across the back of her hand as she instinctively wiped her cheek. He was struck by the image, not because it was messy, but because it mirrored the hidden tears he had been fighting back all day, tears of frustration and inadequacy that he couldn't show his team or his daughter. He realized that they were two people, separated by a floor, a paycheck, and a title, yet united by the invisible, corrosive stress of trying to hold impossible things together. He didn't want to talk, but he couldn't ignore it. He found a small, unopened bag of gourmet pretzels he'd intended for Lily in his bag and left them conspicuously near the trash can she was emptying, a silent acknowledgement of her human presence. Alara found the pretzels and was startled. Nobody ever noticed her, and they certainly never left her food. It was a gesture so small, yet so profoundly human, that it nearly undid her carefully constructed emotional wall. She quickly pocketed them, needing to maintain her silence, but the gesture settled a small, unexpected warmth in her stomach. The next few nights, the silent exchange continued: a protein bar, a bottle of cold sparkling water, never a note, never a word. This quiet kindness, this acknowledgement, was a dangerous crack in her dam. Then came the phone call that shattered it entirely. Her sister Mia, cycling home from a shift, had been involved in a small, non-serious accident, but her bike was totaled, and there were emergency room charges for observation. Alara felt the debt, the real enemy, grow heavier. That night, she was researching predatory payday loans on her ancient phone during her break, a desperate, final step she swore she would never take. Leo had decided to pull an all-nighter, needing to review the final load-bearing calculations. When he saw Alara sitting slumped on a hallway bench, the harsh glow of her phone illuminating her pale, worried face, he knew this was different. He saw the numbers on her screen, the desperation in her posture, and he decided to talk. He didn't ask what was wrong. Instead, he simply pulled up a chair a respectful distance away and started talking about his own struggle, about the Nexus Tower problem, and how much he missed Lily. "It feels like I'm drowning, Alara," he admitted, using her name for the first time. "I'm building this colossal thing, but the small things, the things that matter most, I'm letting them fall apart." His vulnerability was the key. Alara finally spoke, the words coming out in a rush, not about the debt amount, but about the suffocating feeling of being trapped, of watching a beloved sibling suffer the consequences of a financial hole she couldn't dig out of. She spoke about the quiet desperation, the terror of the loans, and the constant, crushing feeling of not being enough. The following morning, Leo walked into his office with a wild idea. He hadn't slept, but the panic had been replaced by a focused certainty. He looked at the disastrous state of his project files, a mountain of material samples, engineering reports, and subcontractor bids that needed to be categorized, reconciled, and presented to the firm partners by the end of the week. He needed someone meticulous, focused, and utterly trustworthy. He needed the quiet, efficient ghost who cleaned his office. When Alara arrived for her second shift that day, Leo was waiting. He didn't offer her a handout, but a proposition. "I've watched you work," he said, handing her a keycard, not a mop. "You see chaos and impose order. You don't miss details. My administrative assistant just quit, and I'm drowning in paperwork that will sink this project. I can't pay you what a full-time architect assistant makes, but I can pay you double what you earn here, for a focused 4 hours every afternoon. It's organization, it's structure. Can you do it?" The job change wasn't an immediate fix, but it was a lifeline. Alara took the administrative role, trading the smell of bleach for the scent of fresh blueprints. Her meticulous focus, once applied to sanitizing surfaces, was now channeled into organizing the Nexus Tower files. She found discrepancies, she cross-referenced dates, and she built a clear, comprehensive system that Leo's previous assistant had ignored. Her quiet strength saved the project. With the organized files, Leo was able to quickly identify and fix the structural flaw in the blueprints, securing the funding in his position. More importantly, he could now leave the office at 5 p.m., having successfully delegated the organizational burden to Alara, giving him back the essential evening hours with Lily. Alara, now earning enough to manage the debt and provide for Mia without resorting to dangerous loans, shed her fear. The tears, whether of exhaustion or sadness, finally ceased. She realized that the silent act of one person acknowledging the unseen struggle of another had not only saved a career and secured a project, but it had fundamentally changed 2 lives. The real strength wasn't in enduring the pain alone, but in the vulnerability required to let kindness break through. The narrator's voice returned, warm and resonating, and that's the beautiful, mending power of paying attention. Alara, now building a better future one organized document at a time, and Leo, building a better relationship with his daughter one sunset at a time, both found that their hidden wounds could only begin to heal when they met someone who saw beyond the surface. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. If this story touched your heart, please give us a like and hit that subscribe button right now. Your support lets us continue sharing these inspiring narratives on Stories That Mend, and reminds us all that true strength often appears in the quietest moments of genuine human connection.